Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I do a budget review for our March 15th paycheck. Between the time that I set up our budget for the paycheck and the time that we actually got our paycheck, I had to modify it a little bit due to COVID. We follow a zero-based budget, which means that we budget every penny that we receive in income in order to know whether we have stuck to our budget or overspent, and to know how to adjust our categories for the following paycheck. I do these monthly budget reviews based on our paycheck dates, which run from the 15th of one month to the 14th of the next month. When we were paid weekly, I still followed a similar process, but it was based on the calendar month. So do what works for you. This is just what works for us. First, I start out by making sure I have all of our expenses totaled up in our expense tracker. Since we were home and self-isolating, I was actually really good about making sure that I kept our expenses up to date in this planner. I just needed to add up some of the totals. And if this is your first video with me, the workbook that I am using, I created because I couldn't find what I had needed in a budget planner, which was mainly forward planning and a review process. So I created this. It's an undated printable that you can purchase at my Etsy shop, and I'll leave a link below. And once that's done, I skip over the debt account and net worth pages, and I go straight to the budget review pages. It's no surprise to you guys that I really like to color code my expense trackers in my budget planner, and the reason I like to do that is so that they're really easy to find the correct category while I'm totaling up the amounts, but also so that I can easily see what was spent in each category as I'm reviewing our budget. Next, I pull out our paycheck budgeting sheet. For March, I'm using the COVID update to our budget, and then I'm going to write in what was budgeted within each category on the review sheets. So for food, I initially budgeted $700 and I raised that amount to $750, and we still overspent. We spent just under $903. Household, I had initially budgeted at $160, and then I had to raise that to $210, and we spent just under $205. Both household and food overages were because we were limited on what was available to us in some of our stores. Some things still have limits on them, and what is available usually isn't the brands that we would normally use. So these are two categories where we did the best that we could given our current circumstances. For pet supplies, I budgeted $160 and I spent just over $98. If you saw my April 15th budget with me, you'll know that the remainder of this category rolled into April's budget because we had a larger Chewy auto ship order this month. Fuel, I normally budget around $300 and I had reduced it to $150. We had spent just under $68, and that's like 2 tanks of fuel for my car that I'm simply amazed. The miscellaneous, I had budgeted about $40, but we spent almost $214. This was mostly because we were all at home and there are some miscellaneous projects we were planning on doing over the summer that we just got done now. Finally, I go through and I calculate how much we over or underspent and just comment as to why. I personally like to switch colors of pen here because it makes it easier for me to see at a glance as we review some of these categories later on exactly how we did in each. For example, if I notice we are consistently spending less than $300 in fuel, I would reevaluate our fuel budget to potentially $75 rather than the $300. But for now, I know it's because we didn't go anywhere with social distancing mandates in place. So then I go through the next 6 prompts and kind of reflect on the month and our budget, and how we can take any lessons that we learned from this month and move forward. So one of the questions here is on, were there any unnecessary expenses that we could have budgeted for? And yes, the household miscellaneous stuff could have been better budgeted for. And like I mentioned earlier, we were planning on doing them later this summer anyways, but we had the time now, we had the funds now, we just decided to go through with them now. What I really like about this budget review is that it has some prompts where I can review what is coming up in the next few months that I need to start budgeting for now. This is primarily what I felt a lot of other budgeting planners were missing. And this part of the budget review is what has kept us in line with our expenses, where we're not constantly overspending or finding that we missed certain expenses anymore. We're not surprised when there's things that are coming up. And then finally, I take these amounts that we actually spent and I fill in the spaces on the paycheck budgeting sheet. When we were paid weekly, this process was relatively quick. In all honesty, it takes me about 20 minutes uninterrupted start to finish, and that's for a month's expenses. So here I've reached a little bit of a pickle. I'm going back to see how many therapy appointment co-pays I have actually paid for and how many more co-pays I can expect to receive a bill from. With social distancing in effect, we have been doing Zoom sessions and we haven't been paying at the office at time of service. So I'm making sure to modify our budget to account for that. I like to pretend that I paid them in full all at the time of service, and I leave that money in the account. This way I don't actually spend the money. It's already been allocated for the purpose, and when that bill comes for these therapy sessions that we've already had, I can just send the check in and not have to worry about trying to fit it in to next month's budget. It came from this month, I'm just waiting on the bill. You can think of it like a very miniature sinking fund. So this month we should have paid $120 in therapy co-pays, and I've really only paid $45, which means I need to be expecting a bill for $75. Finally, we get to tallying. But before I start talking about that, I just want to note, I overestimate our bills. I estimate them on the higher end. That way, if there is any overage, it can be used to help fund categories that maybe we did go over on. It can be used towards a savings goal or can be used to help pay off debt. So for bills, I estimated that we would spend around $2,258 this month, and we spent $2,203.93. Cash envelopes, I estimated we would spend around $1,190, and we spent $1,375.95, and this is the increased food and household spending I had mentioned earlier. Debit expenses, I estimated that we would spend around $1,391.14, and we spent $951.53, mainly because of the decrease in fuel. Now, I am, in that $900, I am including the remainder of the therapy that I still need to pay, the Disney payment, so the money that moved into April's income, as well as my Real ID, my license renewal, that money moved into the April income. And after doing the math, this means that we have money left over. Yay! We have $813.49 left over from the month's budget. For now, we are just putting that towards savings. As of this voice recording, my husband is actually going back to work. One of the jobs he is supervising has been deemed essential and he is starting back at work. So it's looking like we're going to continue to work at our snowball. So that's how I run through our budget review process. I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope that this kind of explains how we see how we do throughout the month. Do you guys go through a budget review process? How do you do it? I know that everybody's a little different, and I'd love to know what you guys do and what you include in your budget review. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, please click that subscribe button below, and until next time, bye.